afternoon. I'm architect Chakrali Gorke. I'm the founder and principal designer at Space Color Architecture and Interior. We've executed about over 10 architecture and interior design projects. Yeah, so let's just quickly go through some of the work that we've done before. So if we could just like switch the biggest problem that people think that, anyone can do it, right? Anyone can sort of redesign their houses, or whenever you feel like, okay, I need a change in the house, you feel like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it myself. And when you start the process, because we don't have that kind of training, or because we don't have that kind of knowledge or research done earlier, we tend to get so confused. You want everything. Oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. I want to put it all in a space, and then it ends up looking like a showroom or something like that. So today I'm going to help you guys to point out a few ways and in various departments how you can regulate design and how you can make better decisions if you are on a journey to DIY your interiors. So let's start with the very first thing that you need to do before you start redesigning your space. The first thing that you need to do is you need to declutter. There are so many things that all of us, everyone's guilty of this. We are so guilty of like holding on things and not letting things go because there's so much emotional value attached to all these things. Every time we go on a cleaning spree, everybody's like, listen, I don't want to give up this, I'll just keep this somewhere, I'll find a place for it. But then you basically end up hoarding it and it just never is of any use, and it's just basically what we call in Marathi, pasara. So first thing that you need to do is declutter, and I'm just going to like tell you all how to sort of do it. There's only 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. The first question about everything, every time you start decluttering about everything, you need to ask about yourself. The first question is, when was the last time I used this particular, I don't know, in my case, this decluttering about clothes. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the skirt, and when was the last time I wore it? And the second question that you can ask yourself is, when is the next time I might wear it or use it? And does it make me happy? If the answer for the first 2 questions is anything more than a month, that needs to go in the trash. Simple. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about, oh, ye to isne mujhe diya tha, oh, like, I have to keep this and stuff. It is trash. It goes in the trash bucket. Further on, what you can do is, while you're on your cleaning spree, you can make 3 buckets. So the first bucket is to recycle and repair. In the spirit of the garage sale, we put like a bucket and we sort of add everything that we want to recycle or things that you want to repair. Then the second bucket is things that you want to return or things you want to sell off or like sort of give it away to somebody or donate. And the third thing is trash. So these are the 3 buckets that you just like sort of go around in your house carrying, and that's how it'll just really help you declutter the whole space. After you declutter, the second thing that you can do is you need to get organized. So before understanding what your needs are, you need to like sort of, like I said, declutter, and then you get into organization, and you cannot organize without decluttering. So the second step is organize. So there's a lot of like products available online. If you just like sort of Google it, you'll find so many products online just to help you organize all the stuff that that's around in everywhere in your house. There's stuff for stationery, there's stuff for clothes, there's stuff for all of this. This is one of my favorite organizers that I just thought might help you out, and it's also a very utilitarian thing because a lot of times we don't get wardrobes in modular and stuff. Maybe buy off the rack wardrobes, and they more often than not, there are a lot of times like they're just like after the shelf there's like a big space or there's like shelves. So a good design would be, in terms of storage, everything below your waist level needs to be drawers, so you can pull it out and you can access it visually. So these ones are super helpful. I purchased them. They're like in a few sizes as well. So for whatever shelving that you have below your waist level, this is something that you can actually use. I'm not a associate partner or trying to market it for anything. I'm not getting any profit. I just feel like it's super, super helpful. Then the next thing that you need to do is you need to start to rearrange. After you've decluttered, after you've organized all your stuff in your house, you have a clear vision. Now all I have to do is rearrange. And who knows, that might be all that you require to add like an extra touch or like a change in the environment of your house. So the way that you rearrange is the simplest way to go about it is just look at your living room. Let's start with the living room. Just look at your living room and just try to identify a few passages. Like let's say your entryway or the way to go to the passage from your entry to your bedroom. Like in this case, this is the entry right here and this is the bedroom way, and over here on top is the kitchen. So the most important thing that you need to realize when you're arranging your furniture is that all your passages need to be absolutely clear. It needs to be there needs to be no hindrance whatsoever. So if you just go to the next slide, we'll be able to find that over here in this space can only occupy one two-seater, 2 plus 3-seater, and two one-seaters, because you have to keep sort of like the passage to go to the balcony space, the passage to go from the entrance to the bedroom, and then from the entrance to the kitchen needs to be absolutely clear. If there's anything coming in these ways, that needs to go in the trash bucket. Similarly, if you just take a look at this layout as well, that's the entrance over here, and that's the kitchen over here, and then on top, this is the bedroom. So I need to identify the passages that come in my way and the main passages that I use. So obviously from the entrance, your passage to the kitchen needs to be clear. So that's kept clear. If you can just switch to the next slide, we'll be able to see that these passages need to be absolutely clear. I cannot have another seating over here, and like something swinging or something sitting over here, because that's just hoarding and that's just trash, like I said. Similarly, if you just take a look at another design that we made, this is in a lot of cases in a lot of apartments. I know that there's a living and then there's like a dining that's a shared space and it's like a long space. And it's a very common thing in a lot of layouts these days. So the main thing to do in a situation like this is to have about a 3 to 4 feet of passageway that is sort of empty and does not have any hindrances, like I already mentioned. Can you switch to the next slide? Just like we've done over here, we've kept the passage from the entrance to the living room absolutely free, and we've made sure even inside the house, the passage from the bedrooms to this side was like the terrace. That is completely hindrance free. So that's one thing that you need to look forward to while rearranging your furniture. If there's, like I said, at the cost of repeating myself, there's anything coming in the middle, that is going in the trash. So the third, if you just take a look at the key pointers, like I've already said, if it's coming in between the circulations, then it's way too much for your space. Your space can only take so much, and you need to identify how much your house can house. And the second point is that in smaller apartments, reduce the number of sofas or settle for one L-shaped sofa or like a 3-seater sofa. If your living room is seemingly smaller than the others, it's better to just sort of settle down for like a one seat, like a 3-seater sofa, which is like a small L-shaped sofa, and not pair it with anything else. If you want to pair it, you can be just like a Kofi or something like that. And in larger spaces, if you just go ahead, in larger spaces, yeah, this one. And another key pointer in larger spaces is that you can play around with different pieces of furniture. If you do have a much spacier living room, then that's something that you can do is you can play around with a 3-seater plus a 2-seater plus a 1+1, like we've done over here. Another very helpful tip for these kind of spaces where the living room and the kitchen is connected is the way that you can connect both these spaces using a 2-way lounger. Now this one over here, I hope everybody can see this. This one over here is something that you can actually face the dining also on this side, and you can face the living also. And there's a lot of designs in the market that are 2-way seating systems. If you just go ahead and we'll be able to see So basically, like I was saying, like two-way systems of seating that you can add between a space that has two spaces connected to each other. Lots of cases where the living room is so big you don't know what to do with it. You simply divide it into a formal and an informal living room. And in one side of the room, you sort of keep like a TV, a nice cozy, um, like a sofa, and the other side could be more of a recreational entertainment type of a room. So the next thing that we're going to look at is paint, shades, and wallpapers. I think amongst all my friends and my network, the most amount of help that they require from an interior designer is यार मैं कौन सा paint डालूं? जो मैंने देखा था ये तो बिल्कुल अलग है. This is not what I thought it was going to turn to be. ये Pinterest image में एक था और यहाँ पे कुछ और उठ के आया है. And that's like the biggest doubt that people who are doing their houses themselves face. So I always suggest always go for white color paint shades, especially if you don't have, you don't want to invest in an interior, in a professional, then the safest way, you just have to play safe. So the safest way to go about is to go for whites or beiges. If you just go ahead and see it. In these pictures, the main thing, it looks good. It's because like the walls and all are super neutral. It's white, it's paints of shades of white, and maybe if you want to add a little bit of color, you can add a little bit of gray or a beige, and you can play with the fabrics and the colors of the furnishings, as you can see. Similarly, in this bedroom as well, the the wall is fully white and the bed is like a nice moss green color. So if sometimes in some spaces, if the wall is super big and the white is looking a little mundane, you can always elevate your whites using textures. These are fluted panels that we've actually used in a lot of sites, and these are my favorite because I love using whites. Even though I'm a professional, I never go for colors. I love using my whites and my beiges and my neutrals. And just to bring a little bit of drama, just to add a little bit of texture in it, I go for like fluted panels, or like I do like a texture with a POP brush or something like that. This is also supposed to be like a textured wall. But yeah. So okay. So the key pointers when you are about to select a paint shade for your space are always give the paint tester shades one full day to show its real color. So definitely always test out your paint shades before going for the final one, and always give it like about a day's time to show its real color. Always check them in the daylight and go for whites, nudes, and you will never go wrong with that. Now for wallpapers, a lot of people I've seen who've done their interiors by themselves. I've seen the full house being fully screwed up because of the wrong wallpaper or the wrong application of wallpaper. So there's two types of wallpapers that we usually work with. One is like a more graphic, more imagery wallpaper, and one's more neutral with a little bit of texture. Maybe it has a concrete texture. It's a lot more neutral, something that you see in hotel rooms and something like that. A lot of people might find the former wallpaper, like the textured or a graphic wallpaper, too much for their space, and they might want to go for something more neutral. Of course, this is a lot more safer. The safe choice is a lot more safe now. So if you want to go for a neutral wallpaper at any wall to sort of accentuate a particular wall, you can sort of pair it up with a wall hanging or a painting or anything that you might find online, or if you just go to a decor shop, you'll be able to find so many things and so many options that you can actually hang on your wall. So a neutral wallpaper paired with like a frame or like a wall hanging would just do the job. And now we're going to get into the innovative ways to use a graphic wallpaper. I think one of my main design languages is to sort of use these graphic wallpapers in such a way that it sort of accentuates, also does not pull focus, but also at the same time accentuates the space. So one way to use this, something that we've done in our recent project, is to use it on the ceilings. We use the tropical wallpaper on the ceiling so that of the passage, so that it does not look too much also, but also there's like that element of curiosity when you're seeing from the outside space and you're looking at a passage. You can see a small little like a an impression of the passage, and you can see there's something really interesting going on over there. Even though it's just a passageway, it's still attractive. And then we pair it with like a nice, like with some nice hanging lights. Similarly, like this, yeah, it's okay, yeah. Similarly, in small living room spaces, if you are a fan of neutrals but you also want a little bit of drama in your space, the best way to go about it is to select a nice graphic wallpaper and put it up on your ceiling. Another way to go about graphic wallpapers is to sort of select a wall in your house. Most of the times, in the cases that the designs that we have made, a lot of times the wall that needs the most accentuating factor or something that needs a wow factor is the wall behind the dining. Because a lot of times the dining may be super mediocre, but you always want your dining space to look very nice. For some reason, I don't know, even I have that desire to have a really nice looking dining space. And the best way to go about is to have a wallpaper going through be on the back wall as a backdrop. So what happens over here is that when you select a nice graphic wallpaper, there's nothing that you really need to do other than to maybe lights, or even if that is like, skipped, that's completely fine. So this is something that we used in a recent project in a kid's bedroom. We went for, if there's like a black and white wallpaper. The reason why we went for black and white wallpaper was because we kept the entire like the entire space, super white, and we just used only one color in the bed bag and the similar shade of wood that was used on the furniture. But then there was still something missing. But then also we didn't want to like sort of add something and then suddenly it would just like blow up. So we went for a neutral or a monochrome color wallpaper, which is a black and white wallpaper, which also happens to like add enough drama in it. And for even more drama, what you can do is you can identify small nooks in your houses. Some of them could be like a small study or an extension of a balcony. A lot of times, a lot of us sort of, close down our balconies and make an extension to the room. So that becomes a small nook or a reading corner. And an interesting way to sort of add some dimension to it is to fully clad it with wallpaper, even on the top, even on the walls, everything. And it just gives like this kind of a dimension and this kind of like a fascination to the room, which is like really, really cool. So the next thing that we're going to jump into is the kind of furniture that you should be using. We're mostly focusing on the living room, and then you can just sort of use these tips and apply them in your other spaces as well. So the kind of furniture that I absolutely hate and can't stand, no matter how big the space might be, is furniture that is bulky and that looks like this, that goes all the way from the seating to the floor. I absolutely despise it, and I just absolutely reject it. I always go for furniture that is sleeker, it's simple, it just needs to have legs. It's the same size, it's the same height, everything is the same. It just needs to have legs. Especially in smaller apartments, for better visual flow, it's always better to go for furniture that is sleek, that is controlled in terms of numbers, and also that has like legs. It's also really, really, sort of helpful in terms of maintenance because you can sweep under the sofas. The other, like sometime back when I was talking about two-way sofas, this is what I was talking about. When you have the living room and the dining space attached to each other and you want to sort of not have a division, a lot of people worry about having guests over and then, itna sa living room ho gaya to kahan pe baithenge and all of that. So this is the very good way to go about it, is to have, this is the dining area over here, that's the living. And there's no partition as such in the middle. We've just gone for a two-way sofa, obviously with legs, because obviously it's giving a lot more visual flow. This space is just long, but really like sort of restricted in terms of its width. So to divide the space, we went for a two-way sofa, which in reality looks something like, can you just go to the next slide? Looks like this. It's two-way, and there's a lot of interaction on both the sides. And I'm sure like this is this is something that we introduced to one of our clients, and now that they're using it, they're really enjoying the utility of a two-way sofa. Of course, it takes a little more space, but like I said, if you just control the number of the furniture pieces in that particular room, you can definitely pull this off. The key point is when you're selecting your furniture is if you're getting your sofa made, while selecting the fabric, always make sure that the martindale rating is more than 25,000 rubs. So when you're selecting a fabric, there's like a small rating that's there behind when you like sort of turn it around, and the detail of the fabric and the code number is always given. It should always, especially for a sofa in a residential living room, it should always be 25,000 and above, because that is the strength of the fabric. That's the amount of rubs it can sort of take in its lifetime. And 25,000 is more than enough. And if it's a white sofa, always get a nanotech coating done. The nanotech coating is such that if it's like sort of like a spray on your sofa, even if you spill chai or spill water or spill anything that's staining, it'll slide right off and it'll prevent your sofas from getting stained. Check that the seat width is at least 500 mm in your living room. So if you have only one living room and everybody wants to make the living rooms like super cozy and super comfy and all of that. So whenever you're buying a sofa, make sure that the seating width, right from the back to the front of it, is not less than 500 mm. Now, while selecting curtains, especially when we are doing projects, home renovation projects by ourselves, a lot of times we prefer to just pick up curtains off the rack, and there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. I honestly but there's so many options available on Amazon. There's options available in local shops that you just like go and visit. But to stay safe, I'd always recommend lighter, nude colors. Don't go for whites, but definitely go for browns and grays. I wish you could see the image here. But this is the one that's really trendy right now. If you're going for something that is off the rack, then you can go for something dual colored, or else you can just go for something, on a nude shade like a beige or a gray or an earthy shade, and that will just do the job. The best curtains to choose for the best fall is a velvet curtain, which can be pricey, can be a little pricey. And the other material that gives the best fall is the kapda of the lining. So recently we installed curtains in one of our sites where we just used the blackout lining of a curtain. If you just go to any shop, any curtain shop, you'll understand if you just tell them that, show me the kapda of the lining of the curtain. So that also gives like a really good fall. Always remember to, if you're going for something embroidered, always remember to go for something that has vertical strips rather than horizontal strips. It's the only reason being, like the vertical strips give a much better fall, flow and ply much nicely and look also nicer. This is a picture of velvet curtains and how they look and the kind of, because they're more in weight, they fall better, especially if you have a heighted ceiling. If you have a sort of like a double heighted ceiling or like something more than 8 feet, then you should definitely go for velvet curtains because they're a lot more heavier and they give a much better fall. And now we're coming to photos and paintings. There's a reel that we made on Instagram that really blew up actually. It says that 5 ways that you can make your apartment, your space look a lot more upscale and look like one of those celebrity apartments. It's really simple. It's not that difficult yet. So the main thing that you can do if you want to add like photos and you want to add like sort of prints and stuff in your apartment, I usually love to just sort of have one big print, an abstract print that has a lot more colors. This is your opportunity to add a lot of color, and a really beautiful dynamic of color in your space is by using big posters and big paintings and prints available. There's so much available online as well. And if you have to measure the right size of your sort of like your frame, what's the right size for your wall, then there's a very simple formula for it. all you have to do is measure the length and the breadth of your wall, divide by 0.65, and that's the length and breadth of the art piece. Obviously not precisely, I mean something that's closer to that, of course. If you want to go for multiple prints and photo walls or something like that, the best way that I like to do is to sort of make a symmetry and put it in a grid, or else at least if I want, like, you know, thoda sa, like different sizes and different varieties, I at least try to have at least one axis that's the same and then have those prints put up. There's a lot of stuff that you get on Amazon. You don't even have to drill for this. You get a lot of one of those adhesive stick-ons and hooks that you get off of Amazon or any other, basically off the internet, that you can just sort of stick and hang your paints and your prints on. This is another way. If you just go online, if you don't like any of my ways to do it, you can just go online and sort of find a already formulated way of putting your prints and your frames up in the best composition. So these are some of the options. I mean, obviously, like, you can just go online and take a look at that. And other than paints and prints, of course, there's a lot of rugs that have been made that can add a lot of color value to your space that can be hung on the wall. And another amazing way to make your space look upscale is to add really pretty mirrors like that one on the wall. The next thing that we do is light fixtures. I don't think I have ever used a light bulb. I basically prohibit light bulbs in my house. So instead of light bulbs, you can go for wall lights that any local shop around you might have. Literally, like, nowadays, all the light shops have such beautiful lightings. So I'm just going to give you two ways to go about it. The first theme is something that you can use like a sort of like a gold one. Yeah, so the first theme that you can select for all the, you know, to replace all the light bulbs together, you can just select something that's golden and black. Or the second way to go about is to sort of just go for pendants. Pendants that look like these. So if there's like one light bulb or like a one or two light bulbs in one room, you can select, pendant or glass light bulbs, translucent light wall lights that look like this and have so many. Now in this itself, there are so many varieties available, and you can just select like different pieces and put them up so that it all looks like one particular theme, and it looks like it's designed by a professional, but it's not. If you want to go ahead and add a little more interesting lights in your house, you can replace the tube lights using panel lights that look like this. Always and always, my tip would always be to go for circular panel lights, because if you go for the square ones, sometimes they may not be fit right, and if they're not aligned properly, it might look really bad. So always go for circular ones, and if you already have a false ceiling, then that's nothing like it, because you can just make a sort of like a cutout in the false ceiling and fit concealed light fittings. But if you don't, that's not a problem. I have no problem in using sort of ceiling mounted concealed lights that come, ceiling mounted panel lights that come out this way. I don't think it looks bad at all. The rule of thumb while using the color temperature of your lights. Now, it's so important. Everybody, all of us know that yellow light color feeling, right? I mean, all of us want that kind of a feeling in our houses. So in the living room, when you go and purchase, light fixtures for yourself and for your house, in the living room, always and always ask for a mix of 4000 Kelvin to 2500 or 3000 Kelvin of light temperature in your house. That will give you a nice golden, warm, look and very cozy feeling. And in the bedroom, you can go for 4000 Kelvin to 2500 Kelvin. 2500 Kelvin is something that is super, super yellow, so it will give you a very ambient lighting. Whereas sometimes we also like to work in our bedroom. So for those main lights, you can go for something that is a 4000 Kelvin. And for any other space that requires any kind of activity, which is like a study or a kitchen, always and always opt for lights between 4000 to 6000 Kelvin. These are white lights that promote a lot more productivity and make your mind realize that, okay, it's time to work now. So that's about lights. About planters. Another thing that you can add to your space to make your space look really, upscale and really nice is to have huge planters. Don't go completely, don't shy away from these things. Go completely crazy with like these planters. Go and get like huge ones and put them in a corner of your space that lacks something. Put them in your balcony, put them on the outside of your house. And if you want to go for smaller planters, you can always go for smaller planters also, because they're much more easier to sort of move and all that. But always make sure that you buy a stand to go with it, so that they're always at an eye level, and having the plant actually makes sense. And well, if all else fails, the last thing that you can do is you can hire an architect. So that's about it. I hope this really helped you guys and added a lot of value. If you guys are students, if you guys are designers, I hope you guys got some sort of value. If you want to get more tips, please follow us on Instagram. We do a lot of stuff related to DIY stuff that you can get in your own house, and how you can refurbish your own home, and a lot of helpful tips as well.